calling tonight's meeting of the Ayer Board of Health to order.
Would you like me to read the
Yes,
public
Mr.
meeting
Slasky
notice?
has an announcement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting or hearing of the Board of Health will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID 978-772-8200. It's a new Zoom number, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Samantha Benoit, Administrative Coordinator, at espenoit@ayer.mass.us or 978-772-8220, extension 145, prior to the meeting.
Very well done. That was a mouthful. Thank you.
Yes, it was a mouthful.
All right. Public input. Do we have anybody that's here for something general other than things that are on the agenda? No? Okay. All right. That was easy then to take care of. So, Bridget, are you ready with septic? We've got 91 Littleton and 91 Groton Harvard.
So 91 Littleton is
Okay.
from GPR. He's just gonna
Okay.
jump up here.
Second.
So it's the old Blue Northern building, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, yeah. That's the place that I was,
Yeah, that wasn't that a,
like a camping thing or something, or RVs or something, right?
I thought they,
They used to sell kayak, adventure gears, all sorts of things.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. But is that the Rotary Club or no?
no.
That was closer to town, right?
Rotary Club was on 2A on the Shirley Airline on the Nashua River.
Yeah, closer to town than that.
But 91 Littleton Road, it's right, it used to be the Mill Stream at one time, I believe.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
It was
It's the
a-
Mill Street.
They sold guns and ammunition and hunting
it was like
supplies.
a sporting goods store. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong side of town. I
Yeah.
got it now.
But it was originally, it's on the Mill Stream. The stream behind it is the.
right. Yeah, okay.
Very long history with the property. Anyway, my name is Lim Hotiv. I'm a project engineer at GPR, Ghost Person Ringwall. I'm here tonight as a representative for Christopher Morin, who is the current owner and the applicant for the septic application you see before you today. Just to give you a little bit of a history, the property itself has been in existence for quite some time. Used to be a retail space, used to be a bar at one point, I hear.
Yeah.
That was the Mill Stream.
Yeah, that's what we're saying, yeah.
And at this point, Chris has acquired this property from the previous owner, and he's looking to basically use it almost as a personal space. More or less a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom space for himself, just for storage and working from home and so forth. The property itself, I don't know if you can see from here, it's located adjacent to Shaker Mill Pond, as well as Bennett Brook. Yep. So you can see here, this is the outline
Yep.
for Shaker Mill Pond. Bennett
Gotcha.
Brook's over here. So obviously we have, a 100-foot buffer offset from the pond itself, as well as 20-foot. I believe the August of last year, we went before conservation in order to try to connect to the existing sewer, the low pressure sewer connection on Hickory Way,
Okay.
located, probably about 500 feet from where
Okay.
the building is.
Yep.
We got it through approval with an RDA through conservation. We went to DPW to get their approval for the water connection as well as a sewer connection. DPW had helped us go before Mass DOT to get an access permit through Mass DOT for the utility connection. Mass DOT had denied us the application because they stated that they cannot provide or give us an approval unless the town will take ownership of the lateral coming out of the building and going across, hooking up onto Hickory Way.
Wasn't that privately put in, that access?
Not the Hickory Way, I don't believe. There is an existing private connection, force main, that runs
Right across there?
right across there, that we don't have control or even permission to hook
That
into.
would be
I
close to
gotcha.
tie in, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, we
okay.
just don't have the ability to do so.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's why we're forced to go with the connection through Hickory Way.
Yeah, okay.
After arguing with DPW, going back and forth for some months now, ultimately it was decided that, DPW will not take ownership of the lateral. Therefore, we cannot make the connection
Yeah.
through Mass DOT.
Yeah, gotcha.
So we're kind of back to trying to fit a septic system
Yeah.
on site. And, the issue is with all
Stream.
the stream, the broke,
Right, right.
at a long, long time ago, I believe back in like 2012 or something, one of our previous engineer had done some soil testing down here, and they actually dug into what they believe was the old septic system, probably about 20 feet away from where the pond was.
Sure. It's probably a tank.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we did find a tank as well, but obviously that's been sealed shut, clogged up, and we're looking to remove it.
Okay.
This past November, I went out with Kobe from Neshoba's office to do soil testing on site. Give it a shot, try to figure out a location
Yeah.
we can locate the system in.
Yeah,
Realistically, this parking area is where we can potentially locate something, but digging down about 8 feet, it was all fill.
wow.
Until we hit a very thin layer of B soil that we can't really locate a system in. And the second hole was 5 feet down, all fill, and we hit ledge. Ultimately, we don't see that we can put in a replacement septic system. Therefore, we're asking for a tight tank.
Just a holding tank, that's it. How many gallons?
I believe we're seeking to put in 5,000-gallon tank
Below ground?
below ground. Obviously, like I said, it's just Chris at the property. We're trying to give you guys a number, 2-bedroom count, just kind of based off of the retail space in comparison to what's currently we're required to provide per Title V.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just trying to stay under there. So 2-bedroom is the equivalent, and you're supposed to provide 500% of the average daily flow, which gets us to, I think, a minimum of like 2,000 gallon per day or something like that. But we're providing a 5,000 just to oversize it, just because,
Sure.
trying to pump it less.
Yep.
And Chris is kind of also thinking about putting in some sort of composting toilet on the interior, just so that he can try
Yep,
to
okay.
further reduce the frequency of pumping.
Yeah, yeah, right. What's the square footage of what would be living area?
Let's see. I want to say that at the time that we're looking, between, I think the top floor was about, I want to say close to 1,500 square feet.
Okay.
And then you have obviously the basement space that used to be like a retail storage. That's probably another 1,000 down there.
Okay, so it's like 2,500, 3,000.
Right, roughly.
Square feet. Okay. Gotcha. So these things, they have to come really often then to pump these out, right?
I think we were looking at the math, the calculation between the frequency of pump, because the alarm is set at 3/5 the capacity of 5,000.
Yeah, I was
You're
looking at that,
3,000. I think we're trying to aim for something that's about 3 times a year for pumping.
It's
Yeah.
not bad. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's actually not that bad.
And again, it's just him in there. He's just using the space, almost like an office space for his
Yeah.
work. So it's not going to be heavy flow or anything.
I think it's better as a used building than a vacant building.
Been a vacant building. What was in here before? Was it just this septic down here, or was there anything in between that? Was it ever connected to any kind of
No,
sewer?
there's an old well connection. That's why we're doing the sewer, the water connection as part
Yeah,
of this.
yeah.
There's an old abandoned well that's been, cut off, plugged up. That's
Yeah,
hooked
okay.
into. As far as we're concerned, we don't have any other record other than the,
Oh, wow.
the old septic system here.
When it was retail, do you know where the septic was going then?
I have to assume that it must be.
Yeah,
just
it was
dumping
probably-
into here.
Yeah.
Into the stream.
Well, yeah, into this field that's like, yeah.
Effectively just dumping it into the pond. Yes.
Yeah, kind of. Do we have other, like similar scenarios? What's the like regulation surrounding this? Does this require a special permit or?
So you just have to give it the approval, then you write up a letter,
Okay,
that it was approved at the meeting. And I'll go over that with Heather. We record that on the deed, right, Jim? Am I doing that?
That's right, it gets recorded before you issue the permit.
Before we issue the permit, so then I'll send this back
okay,
for permit for signature.
okay. And that permit then, should that permit like specify that it can't go above a certain number of bedrooms? for
Yep.
this? So that'll be included in the permit because.
That gets recorded on the deed too, right?
Normally what we do, it's kind of like the order of conditions, you record it ahead of time so everybody knows.
Yeah,
It's a tight
yeah.
thing. Then when you go to do the certificate of compliance, or the permit, and then a certificate of compliance, you put
Okay.
a two-bedroom deed restriction on
Yes.
it. If I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, is that, would that suit his purposes if we did, you said like 1 to 2 bedrooms, so if we made it a 2-bedroom
Definitely.
limit, is that?
Yeah,
that's
he
okay?
was happy with one. I think 2 is fine.
Okay, all right, that's good, okay.
And
That's a
then
really cool property, though, yeah.
Madam Chairman, the only question I have, does that require a public hearing with the abutters to be notified? Or a holding tank?
It does not.
It does not.
As long as it meets the property line offsets.
Okay,
If
so
you get too close to a property line, then that affected property line.
are we far enough from the
I
property
gotcha.
line that it doesn't require?
Yes.
I want to say we're about at least 28 to 30 feet away. So
Okay.
10 feet is the property line.
10 feet?
Oh, okay, yeah, because you're saying this is 10, so you've got, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay,
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the permit as presented for up to a 2-bedroom dwelling unit.
anyone want to second? All right.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, votes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
thank you.
You're very welcome, thanks for coming.
So it's nice to see something being done with that property.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
lady by the name of
I don't know if you
Mansfield
want to
used.
stick around.
Yes, right, Diane was in our
Lily
class.
Mansfield was the original owner, her and I think her husband.
Probably
Um,
to
I remember when it was a bar, the Millstream bar.
I've been working on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I vaguely do too.
It's
Yeah.
just like all the way.
Yeah, so then we can give you a copy to give to Bruce.
I don't think I've ever been in it.
I didn't see that on the agenda. I wasn't sure because I saw it this morning. I was just like, this.
Trish?
Gotcha.
And for some reason, I never issued the permit and he never asked for it.
Oh, well, not that important.
That's a long time ago. I mean, we're talking 70s maybe.
Yeah, I was always been curious about that because we never get notified about the permit. So I think
I
Bruce
never
probably thought-
visited, is that we got called numerous times for fires down
So you weren't in there carousing? Okay.
there. Never, didn't have the chance to carouse in there.
Okay.
But sometimes the engineer signs it.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I can sign that.
So do we need to sign it?
So this is a whole, we ready for the next one?
No, for
That one,
this one.
that permit's gonna come back. Nope, not tonight.
Okay, gotcha. All right, 91 Groton Harvard.
Yep, so this is a septic permit for 91 Groton Harvard Road. They're replacing a septic system, so this is just basically.
I'll come over and look at your
Yep.
drawings. So I can-
This is standard, straightforward.
Where is 91 on
Yeah.
the,
It's next to the
Transfer station.
So this
Was that the garage that they're putting in?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
so there's no,
Oh, okay.
there's no,
Used to be Burnham Trucking.
yeah, it's Atlantic
Yeah.
Concrete now.
Yep.
So there's no variances required, it's just a straight, it's a leach bed. So this is the septic tank, which is a dual compartment, this is the primary system, this is the reserve area.
Is that right next to the transfer station?
Yeah, the transfer station, I think, is
Okay.
over here. So,
Okay, gotcha.
Can you see it, Trish, or?
Yeah, I got it on my phone, thanks.
so, like I said, no variances, it's just a straight Title V system. This is
Okay.
just coming to you for signature for technicality.
Okay,
So if you want to sign
Gotcha.
it, then,
this is a, like total replacement of
Yes.
what was there?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, got
Ripping
you.
down a building, brand new building.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Let's,
Madam
anybody
Chair?
making motions?
I so move we approve the permit for 91 Broughton Harvard Road as presented by GPR.
Okay,
I second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
you just need to sign here.
all set?
That's the chairperson. So.
It doesn't matter, they're all, there's no order on these.
I still reserve it for the chair.
Courtly, I believe it's called.
I gotta say, these are the 2 quickest meetings I've ever done. I'm all
We
good.
don't mess around.
Do you have a card?
Yeah, we really don't.
I don't, not on me at the moment. Do I need to,
That's
see
it.
owner, do I need to specify that as?
You could just put under agent if you want, right under there, yep, just write agent.
All right, thank you.
And then you want me to give you a copy to give to Bruce?
Yes,
Joan
please.
gonna be joining us through Zoom, or?
It's been hard to get in touch with the owner too, so
Yeah.
It might help to just push things along on our end.
Yeah, because I told Bruce I was just concerned about the location of the foundation, just making sure that they weren't getting too close to
We
where.
have the violation notice to go forward without her.
It should be okay.
I
We left about 12 feet.
have it.
They pinned the foundation as well, so.
I have
Okay.
it.
Exactly where it-
Perfect.
I can try and,
Thank you very much.
I have her phone number.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah,
Good night.
Aye.
let's give her a quick call.
Your copy.
I'll take a 5-minute break and.
Yeah, we're just gonna take a 5-minute break because we're trying to find our tobacco control person who I thought was gonna be here, so we'll resume at, I don't know, like 5 to 6.
Did she?
Okay, we're back.
You wanna join us up here?
Thanks for coming out on a snowy night.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is the signer of the permit of record still Mark Fermanian?
Yes.
Okay. With that in mind, as I did on the previous hearing, I'll offer to recuse myself if the licensee so desires me to do that because of previous business relationship with the signer of the permit.
No, I don't request that. I don't feel there's a need for that, but thank you for offering.
Okay. Thank you.
So then I'm gonna go ahead and begin, so we don't keep you waiting any longer for Joan, but
Thank you.
she is much better at this than I am, so she may come in and take this whole show away from me, I hope. So to bring the history forward, you were before us at our last meeting, you had a second sale within a 36-month period to someone underage. And in response to that, you were you got the standard state fine for that, and were ordered to serve a 7-day temporarily stopping your tobacco sales. And that is supposed to begin on February 14th, so people can't get their Valentine's Day cigarettes from you. And will run through Thursday, February 20th. Now we're here tonight, and this existed last time, but I think you hadn't gotten the letter, and it hadn't been really formalized. And that one was in October. Is that right? Is the date kind of right? Okay. So then in January, probably gonna be Joan.
She's in the waiting room.
Okay, let's let her in.
There we go.
Wait a second for the audio. Hi, Joan. I was just summarizing the past history of this. So I think you know Joan Hamlet and tobacco control. So we just kind of did a quick review of the October problem, the second violation, and the fact that we have a 7-day suspension that's due to begin on the 14th and run through the 20th. So this hearing tonight is for the third violation that within the 36 months that occurred on January 5th. And that was another sale to a minor. And for that one, the fine should be, standard fine is $5,000 and a 30-day stopping sales. Am I doing this right, Joan? Save me if I'm not.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Correct.
You can take over at any moment. I have no problem with that. So we're here tonight because you requested a hearing.
We requested a hearing based on the conversation we had at the last hearing, where you said to file the appeal so that we could have a discussion around the time frame.
Okay, all right, got you. So you're not appealing that it happened. It
No,
No,
we
ma'am.
acknowledge
happened.
that.
We're talking now about what the
What the outcome will be.
follow-up is gonna be. Okay.
Correct.
What?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
And if I remember correctly, that the 30-day, the last hearing, we kept talking about the 30-day, but we couldn't because the notice hadn't gone out yet. So after the meeting, I got it right out.
Yes.
Because at that meeting, we normally start them the first of a month on a 30-day, but
Yeah.
I know that Traffic Circle Liquors expressed wanting to do the 7-day and whatever is that
Whatever tags on concurrently, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
outcome of tonight would be tapped on, it would be continuous instead of doing it, a 7-day now and then go back
Yeah,
to selling and then
gotcha.
March 1st, go that way. So, I think what we have before us is, it's the third violation. It's a 30-day, it's 5,000. The board has to look, it's a sale to a minor. The evidence shows that it happens. The board, can't reduce the fine.
Sale of tobacco,
There's-
correct? I just wanted
It is a sale of tobacco.
Yeah, tobacco, not alcohol.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry if anybody said
Yeah,
alcohol.
okay.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Just-
Just clarifying that it was tobacco, not alcohol.
If you believe the evidence supports that the sale happened and there wasn't a protocol or processing error, you can't, reduce the fine.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, given that, what are you requesting?
Request would be to, as we spoke about before, if available, to just, we acknowledge, and as we said before, we've updated, put in a new POS system, fired the employee that was, that was responsible. But we acknowledge and take ownership and responsibility for what has happened. If there is any leniency, we'd ask, as, with all, politeness, to see if there'd be a way to shorten the, the serving of the penalty. We understand the fine is the fine, and we will pay that.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to minimize the harm to the business.
As John said, we've put in a new system. We've implemented new training processes for our staff. We've gone through the process with everybody,
Yeah.
Very
you
thoroughly.
took some personnel action.
and we've taken care of some personnel situations that had caused the scenario to arise. So
And the new point of sale system, the ID verification, that went into place after this,
the day after.
the day after. So
day
you already
after.
have it in the works?
Oh, in the works, yes.
Yeah.
From when this occurred last time, we started to implement a new process in place. Literally a 24-hour time period.
Yeah. I mean, I think that plays in your behavior, in my opinion. So just to kind of kick off discussion, you've taken some, corrective action that I think is affirmative in that it's, adding another thing for you to do. It's not just going back and reminding employees or retraining them. You've actually put in the POS system, and I do like that. The fact that the two of them occurred fairly close together, they were the same employee. You have not been a rogue character. I don't think you set out to go to your place of business every day saying that I want to sell this to whoever I can. There's no indication that that happened. So I think it probably was a legitimate, just breakdown in systems and trainings and, kind of everything else. Anybody else have anything to add to the discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think that in the town of Ayer, there's been a long tradition of very good business practices
Yep.
at that location and by the ownership. So I think it's more of an aberration. I don't think it was something that was intent. I think it was taken very seriously as well. I don't want to harm any business. I'm not a proponent of tobacco sales. So let me just, I ride my bicycle, as Jim said, all the time.
Yeah.
But you have a right to do that, and as the licensing authority, we follow the law.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do something that would hurt the business overall as it relates to their past practice in the town. And my understanding is we can hold whatever days under 30 days. And if there was another violation, they would go into effect immediately, I guess is my understanding. Is that right, Joan?
Yeah, I do want to just point out, this is the third state violation in a 36-month period, and it's the second sale in 6 months. This is considered by a state standards egregious record.
Yeah.
However, that's what the paper says. We do believe that in Ayer, we have overall good compliance. It's very rare we get to a
Yep.
third violation where we have to issue the 5,000. We've been working with Jack-O-Lantern, and I do believe these are unfortunate, expensive mistakes. I do not believe that this is somebody who's trying to just,
Right.
ignore the law, but I don't want to downplay that this is a
Yes,
serious
yeah.
record, and whatever action you take, it sets precedent moving into the future, as these
Sure.
sales to minors is the most egregious
Yep.
offense you can have in the state of Mass regarding tobacco.
Yep.
With that said, I would make a recommendation that if you're going to reduce the 30-day,
You
that
froze.
they're serving 7 now,
Yeah.
that they serve it 2 weeks, and then you continue without a finding the remaining 2 weeks, and then those would be served if there's another violation in the next 36 months.
Absolutely.
That's my recommendation.
We're on the same
And
page.
that would be consecutive with, it would add on to the one from the 40.
Yes, they, at the last meeting, the Trafford Circle Liquors owners had requested that whatever is going to happen today, that it gets
Yeah.
tacked on so that it can be continuous. And I can definitely understand that
Yeah.
type of,
Yep.
not wanting that disruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
if I can continue with that, so we can vary that, but the days would be held in abeyance if there was another violation.
Yeah.
I would recommend that we add 10 days to the current violation. That's still almost 3
The
weeks.
third,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I agree with what Joan said. It is it's egregious behavior selling to a minor, but I don't think it was intentful at all.
I don't either, yeah.
But
I'm just looking up the state law because I don't think that you can do less than what the state law says for a third violation, and I think it's 14 to 30. So that's why I recommended 2 weeks, but I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
would,
Do less, you can't.
if it's
Can't
14,
do less
then
than-
14, but my recommendation would be 10 if we can. So.
I think 10 if we can is not unreasonable. Trish, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm just looking at Joan's letter, it was supposed to start February 21st, going through, resume sales on March 23rd, but if Jones has an answer for us, looking that up to 14 or under 14 days, that I'm in agreement with you guys.
Okay.
All right, let me just look right. Of course, it's.
This gets confusing when the state has limits
Yeah,
and our regs.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
wrong spot, I'm sorry, just give me a second.
What's that, John?
You never realize how
I'm
old
looking
you
at-
are.
Yeah, until you see yourself on
Oh, I
screen.
know, it's horrifying. Isn't it?
Mentally, you still view yourself as though you're 18. And then you're
Yep.
like, oh, nope.
Yeah, Zoom burst that bubble for a whole
18,
lot.
that's aggressive. I wasn't gonna say
aggressive.
18, but.
Yeah, I don't know how old you are either, but definitely not as old as I look on screen.
What I don't get is people watching this at home, you know, but they do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, hey, I'm not gonna discourage civic involvement. I would never discourage that. Could we, and I guess this would have to be acceptable to everyone, but I wonder if it makes sense rather than putting poor John on the spot like this, could the motion be to serve either 10 or 14, whichever is the state,
I'm comfortable with that.
minimum, and,
My recommendation is 10 days, but if the minimum is 14,
yeah,
then it would be 10 days and 21 days in advance, or 20 days in advance.
yeah, gotcha.
Or it will be 14 days and,
Yeah, and then whatever the, remainder is. Because, Joan, you have to send out a revised letter.
No,
right?
you can do 10.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
so
Do you have to send out a revised notification letter, Joan? How does this work if we do
Yeah.
it?
So today what we do is, in your minutes, you make the motion, to give 10 days with the remaining 20 to be continued without a finding.
Okay.
And then we reset the dates for 10 days from the 21st, so it will be the 21st to the 20th, February 21st to,
March 3rd or something?
because he's already serving a 7-day on the 14th to the 20th, so
Yeah,
the next
right.
10 days starts the 21st.
Yeah,
So let me just double check so I don't make any mistakes.
okay.
We could resume on the 3rd then, correct?
I think it's the 3rd, it's the
Yeah,
2nd.
That would be
Sure.
the 3rd, yeah.
Yes, it would be through the 21st through March 2nd, resuming on March 3rd.
Okay. And do the,
And then I
Tobacco-
send,
no, go ahead.
we would reset the 10 days, and then even though they're present and they're here in the meeting and it'll be part of your minutes, we still have to follow up with a hearing outcome letter that
Yeah.
Sam sends out.
Yeah.
And it just says, that it clarifies that 20 days. So
Yeah.
if they have one state violation in
Yeah,
the next 36 months, they have to serve those 20 days,
yeah,
and then we
yeah,
go on to the next. But
yeah.
their first violation could drop off in 36 months too, so it might end up being their second.
Right, yeah.
Because it depends on where they are in the tolling period. They're working with us, and I don't foresee, we didn't have problems, all of a sudden a little stretch of problems. I don't foresee that we're gonna have future problems, and we're available to them if they need any staff assistance or want any other type of educational information from us.
Okay. And you've already done the covering the products or removing them? And,
Not yet. Once it goes live,
or you have a plan to do that for you just?
Yeah, we'll-
Well, they don't have
cover it.
until Friday. So
Yeah, right,
we
right.
call on Thursday and give them a reminder, and then Friday they have to have everything ready. We send an inspector in the morning, and then we send in adult secret shoppers throughout the week in the suspension to make sure everybody's in compliance. I do want to say, this is in the state database, so it's going to trigger a couple extra federal youth inspections, and it's going to trigger a couple extra
Yeah,
state inspections
yeah.
that are out of our hands, because the state database shares everything with the federal and state inspectors. So
Yeah.
we were very transparent with the owners about that, listen, we want to help you come in compliance, but now this is going to trigger other agencies, which will just help build a strong compliance record. If they, pass
Yeah.
our reinspection, the state inspections, moving forward, it will just strengthen, their compliance record.
Okay, all right, I got you.
Madam Chair, you ready for a motion?
I am ready.
Yes.
Based on the violation of the tobacco control regulations for the Jack-O-Lantern, is that the name?
Circle Liquors is the official name.
Traffic Circle Liquors, that the board impose an additional 10-day concurrent with the current suspension, and hold 20 days in abeyance if there's another violation within 36 months, I believe, is what the time frame is. So the motion is 10 days, the fine is by state, we don't need to vote on the fine is the
Yeah.
fine. So,
Do we have to vote on the fine? Because it's different from what's, I
You,
think,
you
in
have to vote
the.
fine and responsible because, you have to vote that you are
Okay,
responsible,
Okay.
yeah.
Well-
And then
yeah,
the-
and then
Let me
the
read
fine
the fine.
remains,
let me
Okay.
reword my motion.
suspension is reduced.
okay,
That
gotcha.
the board finds the Jack-O-Lantern Traffic Circle Liquors in violation of the third sale to a minor within 36 months, and that we suspend the license for an additional concurrent 10 days to the current suspension, which would be until March the 2nd of 2025.
Okay, gotcha.
Second?
I second that.
Okay, and that motion covers everything we need, right, Joan?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct. And I'm in
Okay,
the office
awesome.
right now, so as soon as I, click off, I am gonna, get the new order ready and I'll have it, so Sam will have it first thing in the morning to get it out.
Okay, perfect. Then let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Save you a couple.
Just like, I'd like to thank Joan and the board. I appreciate that you all, in the spirit of cooperation. Obviously, we own this. We understand what happened, and we certainly hope not to be here at any time in the future. No disrespect, but thank you for working.
No, we
with us.
appreciate your taking it seriously and coming in to see us, so best of
Thank you so
luck.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Joan.
I don't have to see you for 36 months, we're good, right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
That just needs to be filed.
Okay. Okay, so these can go back to you, Sam, those are your copies. And this is your copy too. This is mine from last time.
Okay.
All right, new business, Neshoba, overview of PhD program. Are you presenting, Bridget, or do we have guest
Yes.
presenters, or?
Hey, I had to do part of the site tag.
No. Okay.
Would you like us to join you at this?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, good, we have a TV back there too, so you can see.
All over the place.
I know.
Yeah, right?
We're high tech here. Very
Working
high
on
tech.
it.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. We are here to provide an update, kind of overall agency update, as well as a couple of the grants that we get and the work that we've been doing under those. Our hope is that going forward, this will be a once-a-year thing where we'll come around to all of the boards to address you guys and provide some updates so you can kind of keep up with
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know what slides you need.
Oh,
So you can
I have the
control, too.
power. Very exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm very All right. So yeah, this is something we're hoping to do annually, just give you updates, especially now. We're really cooking with gas when it comes to the Public Health Excellence Program and the Foundational Public Health Services. So there's a lot of updates. Things are happening kind of rapid fire. So we're going to get you guys up to speed with where things are at right now. Right? I might have just written on your sleeve, and I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
That's a little ink. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
I'm going way too fast.
But that's
now.
okay. No, that's how you do it. Okay, so you
Okay.
do have to. Okay, get that
Here,
little
I'll
pointer.
just keep
You want
it here.
Okay. you can be in charge of that thing.
That's why we brought three of us.
That's right.
It's true, that's
How
why.
many people does it take to give a presentation? So we're going to give you a quick update on the overall state of the agency first. Then we're going to talk about the Public Health Excellence Grant, as well as the Foundational Public Health Services that really kind of provide the foundation, for lack of a better word, for all of the work that's going into that. We'll talk a little bit about our work plan and the sustainability initiatives associated with our Public Health Excellence Grant funding. We're also going to give you a little update on the Contact Tracing and Case Investigation Grant, CTCI. So up first, if you would go to the next slide, please, we have Jim to give you an update on the state of the agency.
So again, thank you very much for having us here. And again, as Jenna said, we hope to come regularly.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
One of the nice things is the agency does quarterly meetings, and so I
Yeah,
get to see
yeah.
some people from time to time.
Yeah.
But for those people who don't come, I have to assume and hope that they're reading emails, and
Yeah.
sometimes between Jen and I, there's lots of them. Probably Bridget too. So again, I like it kind of in person.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, we love having you come.
Thank you. And so what I want to do, it was budget year this year. And I really appreciate the fact that people came out so that we could actually get the budget done. And those people who sat through the budget meeting realize, like all our communities, it's kind of a tough situation.
Yeah.
Things that are making it difficult for us this year to kind of balance things is one of the towns that was a member of the district will be leaving as of June 30th.
That's the Littleton is.
Littleton's leaving, and so with that goes some fees and the assessment. One of the ways we're trying to kind of make up for that is we have an open position that we hadn't filled, and we won't fill it, so that'll help us kind of balance that part of the budget.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we do to try to balance that is to raise assessments and fees by 10%. And we know, particularly that 10% is, people look at that and realize it's a high number, percentage number, but it's on, probably one of the smaller town budget, which is good.
Yeah.
We realize that all the towns' monies are really important, and we really try to work as hard as we can to try to keep that number down. So
Yeah.
at the meeting, we provided kind of a cost comparison, and I think you were the one who pointed out that for $6 per capita is a pretty good deal.
I'm still astonished.
So just to kind of give you an update, so for the assessments that you pay, it's about $6 between nursing and environmental per capita, town citizens. When we add in the fees that we collect, it brings it up closer to $12.
Yeah.
The statewide average per capita is about $17.50. And if we look at the monies that we get from the Public Health Excellence Grant, that 12 goes up to about 15.5. So they've helped us bring us closer to the state average, but we're still kind of not up to the minimum state spending on public health at this point. One of the things we were doing, and we've been working on for probably about a year and a half now, the bylaw revisions.
Yeah.
So hopefully this week I will send out the final set of bylaw revisions so that everybody can have them. Our bylaws for the district require that I send those out to you a month ahead of the meeting. So we're hoping to have our next quarterly meeting sometime in March, probably the 20th or 27th.
And we're going to discuss bylaws.
That's right. I'm required to have them out a month ahead of time so you can take a look at the changes. And what we're going to take, we can certainly take changes at that meeting if we want, but we hope to pass them at that point. The last time we revised the bylaws was 1996. The only changes have been made is when Pepperell joined and when Stowe joined.
Yeah.
So otherwise, the bylaws have been the same. And with the closing of the nursing service, there's a lot of references to that need to come out of it as well. So I just want to give you an update on that. And those of you who suffered through our October meeting for the pension, we have this issue that we've been trying to address since 2014. When we were informed by the state that we hadn't been paying the employer portion of the pension funds. We've been paying the employee portion right along. And we didn't know that, at that point, we didn't know that we owed it. And just a brief history on that, back in 1967, the agency petitioned to become part of state retirement. And we were accepted. And at that time, again, I wasn't around then, but at that time, the process was that you pay the employee part and the employer pays the employer part.
Right.
We had a series of staff in between then. First pensions were drawn in 1980. So there's a bunch of years. State never sent a bill for it, and nobody at the agency probably remembered the deal they made. Yes, I don't know. So from about 1980 to 2014, there's been a debt accruing. And when the state found it, they forgave everything they hadn't billed us for, but explained going forward they would bill us and we would be responsible. It's a pretty significant number, and essentially the way we're billed for that is it's about 18 months in arrears. So what they do is they take a look at last year's employer's part of everybody who we're responsible for in the pension fund, and then they send us a bill for that. So we have no idea what that number is going to be until we get the bill.
Yeah. Okay.
And that number's closer to $600,000 a year now.
Yeah.
So when we met with the pension folks in 2014, they were kind of matter-of-factly saying, hey, you're not the only one, there are other entities.
Yeah.
But this requires a legislative fix. They're required to bill it because it's a debt due to the pension fund. They gave us, they said it's a legislative fix. We've tried a number of things since then. We've filed our own bill.
Yeah.
We were appointed to a group with administration and finance at the state level, with the treasurers and the other entities. That was like 2016, 17. They couldn't come to an agreement then.
Yeah.
There was a handful more bills that didn't pass. Last legislative session, there were 4 bills, 2 of which probably would have helped us. They didn't pass. They got kind of pigeonholed into the dustbin of unpassed bills.
Yeah.
What we really need to have them do is to change the way we're paying the pension fund. We need to, instead of paying in arrears, we need to be paying forward on the, kind of like Social Security, you pay a portion on salaries going forward.
Yeah.
That would make a big difference for us. So there's current legislation. Terry Coonahan, who's our CFO, really has worked hard through December to get 3 new bills filed.
Yeah, it looked like there's some steam building.
That's right. So the treasurer filed a bill because they really want this resolved as well.
Yeah.
We were able to get Representative Scarsdale to file a bill.
Yeah.
And Senator Eldridge to file a bill as well. So we
Yeah,
have 3
yeah.
legislative vehicles to
Okay.
move forward with. So our next step is what really kind of precipitated the concern here is that because we have such a large debt on the books with the pension fund, that our auditor was concerned about the financial viability of the agency, at least on paper.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't want to kind of label the agency a going concern, which I guess is bad language in auditors' terms. So we had to get something going. We have to get this moving forward. So our next step is to try to work with all the town administrators and town managers.
Yep.
My plan is to meet with them, kind of explain the situation, ask them for their help getting the rest of the legislative legislative folks that
Yeah,
represent all
yeah.
the communities on board with these 3 bills. Now that we have them, they can actually go look and sign on to them.
Yeah.
And see if we can't get this thing pushed through this next
So
session.
2016 or 14 was the date that they said, here forward, you need to pay this.
Right.
Was it 2016?
So 2014 is when we found out. So they forgave
Everything before that from 1980 or?
from 2012 back. This new legislation has a few more years of forgiveness in it.
Okay.
And then the idea is we have to start it includes a paying forward mechanism, which is good. And then the pension fund can figure out what to do with the other years of arrearages.
How big is the elephant, Jim?
Beg your pardon?
How big is the elephant?
Depends on, it depends on what, I don't know the exact number, but you're talking somewhere between like
Ballpark.
$4.5 and $6 million.
Really?
And we have that money, a lot of that money saved. We might not have like this next year's saved because.
Are they penalizing you from the time 2012 or 2014? Are you being fined on top of that?
No, we're not. And the current legislation, I believe, has language in it that if you don't pay, there's like a 10%. But we're hoping that with it passing, the legislation as it's listed now allows the pension fund to work out the payments for the arrearages. We're hoping that.
Would that be over a course of like a year, a couple of years?
That we don't know.
Undetermined?
Yeah, that's what we need to kind of find out. So.
Okay. I understand the accounting part of it because, if it doesn't go through, that's not a good thing.
No, and Terry does too, and when she's concerned, I'm concerned, so, yeah. So, and again, it's not, we've been putting the money aside as if we were paying forward, and we were hoping for resolution that would kind of wipe it out.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened. The treasurer's like, we're not gonna do any more years of forgiveness. One of the things we're hoping for is maybe in the way, I guess this bill, the current iteration of this bill was being considered in 2018. So one of my takes to the pension folks is, can you at least, with our arrearages, apply the actuarial number going forward for those years backwards? That may help us
Yeah.
kind of pay that out. So I don't know how creative they can be.
Well,
Yeah, that's the unknown. I don't know, but the key is we got to get it passed, and so that's where we're at. So I'm going to be working with your town administrators and town managers to get additional legislation.
Are there other boards of health that are in the same ballpark on this, or?
I don't think so. I think the other entities are like the planning commissions, there's a vocational school, like, not the teachers, but like the administrative staff. So it's a handful of these really kind of one-offs.
Mm.
So none of, like this, the arrearages, and none of that has been billed to the towns yet, but I,
It is not, and that's what we're really trying to do, is we're trying to get to the point where we'd like to make sure we could, what the money we have, pay that arrearages, so it doesn't, because we've asked our agency council and that, Copeland and Page, who many towns share as well. Our bylaws state that towns need to pay the cost of the service, and whether that arrearages would be considered cost of service, we don't want that to be the case, because that's something that nobody planned on.
Yeah.
So that's why we really need to push hard on that to make sure that.
Yeah, I'm asking because I think one of the things that I took away from the last meeting is that you might have to start billing the towns.
Terry may start putting it on the assessment, saying if we don't get resolution of this,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's out there.
Okay, but part of your discussion with the town managers, it sounds like, is
Will be all of this.
how do we handle that in the meantime? Do we have to actually pay it, or?
I think we want to, kind of like the pension fund's doing us, bill it.
Yeah, okay.
But have people pay the current assessment, but let them know that,
Gotcha.
part of it is we really need help getting it passed.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's, again, everyone's best interest that if that can get resolved in a manner that's kind of money neutral, if you will, to the extent that we can.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
I don't know if there's any other questions on that pension piece.
I think it's going to be confusing in terms of the town if you bill them in terms of, does the town have an outstanding debt at that point in time? I don't.
Yeah, no, and that's, I guess, that's part of the concern, is that we want to make everybody aware of it.
Because the bonding for the town and things like that will be influenced.
That was what we share the same auditor that probably 10 or 11 of our towns do.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
okay.
he's
But
aware of that.
your bond rating would.
Right.
And your interest that you pay on loans will be affected by that. I mean, it's a huge deal.
Oh, no,
It's a huge
he was quite obvious with that, the fact that was, So.
Glad you.
Next slide.
Don't get out of the doldrums here.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
Let's talk about communications. So we want to continue enhancing our communication methods, just keeping our boards informed and facilitating input. So because I'm communications, I figured I'd pop in on this meeting and shoehorn in a slide about communications. So just kind of an informal poll here, like what's working, what could be done better, any specific suggestions, and I don't want to put you on the spot. If you need to think about it, you know how to reach me in the next couple days.
Yeah, I mean, for things that affect us generally as a town, I mean, I talk to Bridget all the time. She's our
Absolutely.
conduit for information, and
Wonderful.
then at least I, as a board member, know that I can contact any one of you. You're great at sending out information so that we get it. I don't always reply to it. I get it. I look at it. It's like kind of make sure that I understand what it's all about. I'm going to make a commitment to keep going, probably not in person, but at least calling in or zooming in to the to your quarterly meetings. So that's helpful too. But that's like the kind of high level things that affect the entire agency. When it's like something really that affects us as a town. Between Bridget and I think that we've just got a good team that communicates well with what we have to do. You either pick up a phone or an email or you do what you got to do.
Wonderful. Well, the door is always open to suggestions and feedback, so please feel free to let us know anytime if you have an idea, something that could work better, differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all ears. And if I think you all are on my distribution list for boards of health, that was my other thing, is if somebody isn't, but that's kind of moot because I think you all are.
Yep,
So.
I get stuff.
Okay, great. Moving on. Next slide.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly. I know that you probably know Jim and Jenna and Bridget, but I am newer to the agency. I've been there about 8 months. I am the shared service coordinator, so I oversee the Public Health Excellence Grant and kind of the dealings around that. So the Public Health Excellence Grant is, it's awarded to 51 different groups in Massachusetts, Neshoba being one of them. It's multi-million dollars that are being put out to the different local boards of health to increase their local capacity. We historically knew that public health was underfunded, so this is really kind of swooping in. It's state and federal funds to really help us boost up our local capacity to do local work. So we have a few different people under the Public Health Excellence Grant. Myself, Jenna is on the grant. We have 2 health agents who you may or may not have worked with before, and then a food inspector. One of the things that we're using the funding for is to also improve our inspectional software in order to make sure that our inspections are sort of streamlined and we have that data to back that up. Some goals that we're doing is really formalizing a training program for our inspectors, making sure that we have very good inspectors for our different towns, focusing on environmental and food protection, and then also putting in standard operating procedures for the boards, the Neshoba Boards of Health.
Yeah, for you as an agency.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, makes sense.
Is the grant state funded or federal funded?
It's both, yes. They don't give you the percentage.
Is there any issue with the federal?
Not so far.
We got general non-statements from the Commissioner of Public Health
Yep.
last week.
Mass DPH?
Yep. So right now it's status quo. That could change at any time, but they've told us to march forward as we are.
Keep doing what you're doing for, yeah.
Yep.
On the federal side, do you know what agency is the funding agency?
I don't know. They don't. What is it?
I'm not sure. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's CDC
I don't know. I don't think that they're they don't tell us like what percentage is state and federal or like where it's coming from. They're just like, here's your money.
Yep. So public health excellence is the grant program is based around the foundational public health services model, which has been around for a while and has actually been adopted by a number of other states. In Massachusetts, the Blueprint for Public Health Excellence in 2019 established this framework as what we will be working off of as we get up to speed with meeting the public health needs of all of our communities. So all shared service arrangements like us are embarking on a journey, as the Department of Public Health would say, to assess where we're at in terms of these foundational public health services. And what we need to do to get to a point where all of Massachusetts is delivering services equitably. So right now we're going to a lot of webinars, getting kind of fire hosed with information and learning about the process, getting some technical assistance as well. And we're working on this shared services review process over the next couple of months, which will kind of give us a nice little benchmark to work off of with the Department of Public Health. It's a lot of information. But overall, the foundational public health services are based on these 5 foundational areas that you can see across the top there, and 8 cross-cutting foundational capabilities, which are listed at the bottom, and all of that kind of enveloped by equity. Next slide, please.
If I can just, what you found out in terms of food service, was that part of this education process? When you,
Yes.
the new,
So I'm part of, I just finished the Food Fit program.
The fit one.
so that was under
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have this mass fit training process, and so food is the first one. I think that came out. Housing right after that. So Bridget and Kara.
I think it's great for consistency.
And that's
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what is done here is done someplace else, and, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was intense. The prerequisites were intense, but the overall experience, from what I gained from it,
It was good.
it was definitely worth it.
I just
Yeah.
think
Definitely worth it,
what-
definitely.
What you do in Ayer versus what happens in any other city in town. in the state
Yeah,
should be the same.
yeah.
Right, and it's,
Yeah.
like you said, it's consistency, so if you're inspecting one McDonald's should know what to expect everywhere.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's, and I think that's important, but it also just taught you to be better at what you do, to document things better. And I think that helps because again,
yeah.
it's one thing if we're just going in and checking boxes, and it's another thing if we're writing down
Yeah,
what we
you have more
see,
detail.
right, how to correct it, what the time frames of correction are. So I personally,
That's
I
great.
hated it when I was going to
Well, nobody likes training.
but
Yes, you do.
But it was worth it, it sounds like. That's awesome.
I did it.
Yes. So these are some of our work plan highlights. So we have to put together a work plan each fiscal year. So these are kind of our fiscal year 25 work plan highlights. So really doing quarterly meetings, compliance with bylaws, really doing that inspectional service improvements like that mass fit food, mass fit housing, consistency across the board, and then just building on some sustainability goals, job satisfaction, retention of staff, etc., and then reviewing some of our disease control initiatives. So I won't read them verbatim there for you, but you can take a look at those. But those are our work plan goals for 25.
I think I just kind of assumed that especially for like communicable disease, that there's gotta be like, doesn't the whole state do the same thing? Isn't there a template that we all do the same thing? But sounds like no, that's unique to the administering agency, right?
So they have certain, like the disease reporting interface that the
Yeah,
nurses use,
yeah.
Maven, is statewide. So all
Yeah.
the nurses that do that, but whether they have staff or not.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
how
we've
you
always been
implement
lucky
it is.
to have public health nurses to be able to do this.
Yeah, okay.
If you ever want to see something interesting, I found all the communicable disease paperwork for the Ayer Board of Health from 1947 in the office.
You're
my
kidding me?
God,
That
so
sounds
cool.
fascinating.
It's these little cards, and there's hundreds of them.
And
Oh my
we
God.
have
We have them.
You didn't
I don't know if you
exist
guys are
in-
supposed to have them, but we have them. It's pretty cool.
Because we would have been doing that in 1947, right? 'Cause
Sure.
you guys didn't exist.
I wasn't around, Pam, maybe you were.
Before my time.
I found those a couple months ago. I
Wow.
think it goes from 47 to like 56 or something.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Cool. Remind me next time I'm in your office.
Yeah,
I
if
would
you ever
love
wanna
to
see
take a
something
look at
really
that.
weird.
That sounds so cool.
So along with the Public Health Excellence Grant, we also have another grant for Contact Tracing and Case Investigation Grant. That's funded through the end of next June. That we do have staff on that grant. We have one public health nurse. What we are going to be doing is sort of supporting case investigations, et cetera. Originally, it was put forth when COVID was like a thing and you actually had to contact trace. You do not need to do that. And shortly after this grant came out, they said that you didn't have to. So it's kind of been like loosely there.
Yeah.
It is federally funded. And so we have hired our staff, and we're also updating our public health database. So like Jim just said, there is a statewide database called Maven that really tracks communicable diseases, but there's no other way to track the other work that the public health nurses do, like the vaccination clinic. Well, that's tracked under another platform called Color, but like home visits, any work that they do with like hoarding cases, etc., that's not tracked anywhere. So we're updating our database in order to track and capture that, so we can kind of let you guys know and keep you attuned on what our nurses are doing. And we're also going to be exploring some community health profile and access to care.
Okay. But there's like a defined list of diseases that you have to track under this, right? That's
Yep.
that
Yep.
kind of standard.
Yep. And so whenever somebody does get a communicable disease, it gets put into this Maven database, and it pings the nurse in that town that covers that area.
Okay,
So
I
if somebody
gotcha.
got the flu, that would be tracked in Maven. Somebody got COVID,
Okay.
that's tracked.
How does that get there? Is it the doctors and
It's like the state lab
providers that
result.
upload
Yep.
that?
It's all labs.
So if a lab result comes back positive for a portable
Oh,
disease,
okay,
it
that
gets
makes sense,
flagged.
yeah,
Yep.
okay, to
All
start
our
it there.
foodborne illnesses get in there, like salmonella, et cetera. Those are all in that database.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
Great.
Sorry if I missed
That's
it. Did
okay.
you say bylaws were one of the things that you're reviewing?
That's Jim's reviewing the bylaws.
That's
yes.
right.
How old are the bylaws? When do they go back to? When were they last revised?
Last revised in '96. We added a couple of towns, so there's some smaller revisions, but just to add those towns. I don't know how far back they go. I'm going to guess and say 1965 was the date I remember seeing on the document, but the latest revision was '96.
You take input from the member towns?
So we've sent them out a couple of times for input. We've made the changes. So when I send out, it'll probably be this week. I'll send you out I'll email them and I'll mail them because the bylaws I have to mail them. But I'll email them because you'll have the benefit of seeing the colors, the different changes
yeah.
that were made.
Yeah,
And the goal is to approve those at the March meeting. And a lot of the changes were, again, Neshoba nursing. A lot of the bylaws described 3 or 4 different committees that probably haven't been in place for a long. So we're just trying to align them to what we're doing practice-wise. Define other things. Often I get asked for the contract for the town for Neshoba. We don't really have a contract. There was a town meeting vote and a board of health vote, and that's how you joined. So generally, the membership relationship of the bylaws and the service memo that we had, just so everybody understands what the relationship is. So that's why the bylaws are important to update.
And thus our presentation concludes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Any other questions?
So, have we seen any, I've been, again, to pick up on is anything affecting us that's like coming out of the federal level? I've been reading stuff about CDC not making information available that they used to, but is that more, like, what kind of information are they not making available? Is it actual information on infection rates and communicable diseases, or?
So some of that has changed over the past week, but there is still some stuff that's not coming out the way that it used to. So like the Han Health Alert Network.
Yep.
Communications stopped going out. Those were things that would sometimes make their way down to like Jim's or my inbox.
Right.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of just like a nice little finger on the pulse nationally of issues as they trickle down the pipeline. So Massachusetts, so how it affects us, right? Maybe helped us to stay a little bit more ahead of our communications.
Okay.
And the Han alerts weren't necessarily for the general public so much as they would be for healthcare providers and public health people and people doing the work to like help keep people safe and so you can still get your FDA alerts on the FDA website. I haven't actually checked today, but as of Friday, I wasn't seeing that they were coming out with like a feed of those or pushing them to the news media necessarily. So.
And the last time we talked about the avian flu, some of those links.
Yes, bird flu.
They were still up there on the CDC site. So, if you're trying to provide information to other people, as a public entity, we like to use other public entities to kind of stay in sync with the messaging that we're doing.
Yep.
Bird flu is getting scary. It's at the zoo in New York. No, they had.
I think they shut down a live bird market in New York.
They did. Yes. Yep.
They had to destroy some ducks or something at the zoo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it spread like beyond that.
Yep.
That's why you're paying $15 a dozen for eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs are expensive now. Wait.
Yeah.
Catherine Brown, who's the state epidemiologist,
was gonna say
at our meeting, our public health meeting last Tuesday, she provides a really granular kind of update of what's happening in the state.
That's where I'm getting my info, if you're wondering, is
I think,
Katie Brown.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway is that it's still a pretty low risk to people.
Yeah.
The people who have gotten sick, and the one person, or I guess it was one really severe person who died, was health issues, and you really have to be in contact with the milk or the blood of the animals to be getting that.
They were working very closely with poultry.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's
to
something,
be-
we're
just
keeping
so
an
that
eye on it.
I'm not as concerned about it from a people getting infected thing. It's just that
The
at this point, it's
impact
like
on
impact
all the
that it has
things.
on-
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we're keeping an eye on it because it has shown its ability to start jumping into mammalian species, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was happening as early 2024, I want to say, when they saw it jump into cows.
Yeah.
So it's not like a sudden new crazy thing, but they're keeping an eye on it. And it has showed, yes, it's showed some characteristics that make it something to keep an eye on. So,
And
yep.
they're doing surveillance, so I think they're doing milk testing.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Actually, in Massachusetts, they're doing it by individual farm, unlike at the other states and national level. It's kind of like a pool of milk, and
Yeah,
they test it, and they
yeah.
go, well, one of these farms has it, right? In Massachusetts, they're actually
Yeah,
able
gotcha.
to take it down to that granular level, which is really
Yeah,
nice.
that's good.
So that's one thing we're doing super well here.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Well, to me, that's the important piece. The
Exactly.
surveillance piece is really important, so you can see it coming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Let us know. I appreciate every day everything that you do, and Bridget has a price above rubies. I'm telling you. So
The inimitable Bridget Braley.
seriously, I mean,
No,
it's-
she really is. She's great.
I don't think we could do better in this town. So
Do you hear that?
I hear that. And you're turning the nice color. of your
I wasn't going to say anything.
every word of it.
It's swelling. No, that's not it. It's
Everybody
just-
that goes to a restaurant in this town, if you've eaten at a restaurant or gotten takeout from a restaurant in this town, thank Bridget Braley for the fact that you haven't dropped.
That's right.
Really, because
pressure.
I know that in Ayer, and I assume you do everywhere, but I only care about Ayer. You really stay on top of places. So
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear.
yeah, it's fantastic service we get.
Can I get a therapy puppy?
So
On the record. My gosh.
Persistent.
on the record, that's right.
Very bold.
She knew the answer.
Yeah.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you very much.
All or any of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So that was PHE. That actually will probably also cover this down below discussion.
Yeah,
initial-
Bridget said other things.
Should we combine that before we do harm reduction? Are you kind of on an Neshoba roll, Bridget? Because we could move these out of order if you want.
Do you have any Neshoba things?
Because we've got, what should happen now according to the agenda is, so we just talked about the PHE program, and then we've got an update on harm reduction, and then we have a discussion, Neshoba update.
Do you want me just
so-
to go next?
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you wanna go, go.
Do I wait for Steve?
Yeah, not for very long, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things I find in that office.
I bet, that's wild.
I'll also have to show you, I found in the old desk, staple remover made out of Bakelite. It's the best staple remover I've ever used.
Oh my god.
It's the coolest thing. It works better
Really?
than anything else. It's Bakelite. I was like, how long has this been sitting here?
That's amazing. That is so amazing.
I decided if I ever leave here, I'm taking it with me.
Yeah, hey, you found it. It's probably been sitting there for, guys, decades.
I don't think she heard me. Hi, Trish.
Hi.
She looks so cute up there.
I know, you look really cute on Zoom. How come I don't look that good?
I think it's because I have like this is my grandson's game room, and it's usually this hovel. But, I said, oh, the low lights might work to my advantage in here tonight, so it's,
Strategic lighting, I got you.
yeah,
Oh, God.
it's like that Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Bridget's gonna continue with Neshoba stuff, and then we're gonna,
Okay,
flip over to Trish for, harm reduction, so.
mine's very short anyways, so.
Okay.
Okay.
What else is going on, Bridget?
So I did a housing inspection at 11 Shirley Street in Ayer. I've been in contact with the landlord. It's just some of it was, there was heat, but the heat wasn't adequate. There was some smoke detector issues. I believe those have since been resolved. I think there was
Okay.
one smoke missing. And so we'll be in touch with the landlord to make sure that the violations have been corrected and follow up with the
Okay.
tenant to make sure that.
And everybody's doing what they need to do, it sounds like.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Operating with you, yeah.
I'm still working with West Street.
Yeah.
3 Union Street, we have been, I met with the homeowner or the resident of the property.
Yeah.
Regarding, the rat issue. There was just a lot of snow. I could not actually get into the yard because the gate was,
Yeah.
there was ice, so we couldn't open the gate. So, long story short, but there was a section I could see through the fence, I could
Yep.
see the chickens. I didn't see any rats. I went over again feeding practices.
Okay.
I will follow up with Julie before permits are issued for the next round. Obviously follow up with an inspection,
Okay. Alright,
in the
gotcha.
spring, but,
You know-
he is supposed to email me his pest control plan. I have not received it yet, so.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that because we have the chicken permits going out, that usually go out in, what is it, end of April, I think, that they expire, so it's like a May 1st to.
They expire May 31st. So I usually
Okay,
try
so
and
they're,
send
like,
them out early
Coming
April.
up in the next couple of months. What we could do is, I know we have stuff on our website and whatever, but we could send something to every person that has a permit that's like just a kind of a one-pager on, we've had a lot of rat complaints.
I think that's a great idea.
You are a key player in, the game of rats, so it's just kind of maybe reiterate some of the stuff that we've already done. I'll take a look. I don't mind taking a look at what we've done. What we've already got, on the website. And
Yeah, I mean, we have we call it the rat one pager, but it's actually, I think, 2 pages.
yeah,
But it just
yeah.
goes over, what we can also do is just make it more specific for chicken.
Yeah.
I can take that apart and put it,
Yeah, that'd be
make
great.
it part of the packet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy.
That's
Okay.
a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that works. Doesn't add anything to the regulation. It doesn't, it's just kind of a hey reminder.
Just a
Yeah.
notice.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
So, part of your new education on inspections was the sushi thing. Are we gonna have to issue special permits for restaurants serving sushi in the town?
you're gonna have to issue a variance.
So is that gonna come up on their food, their common vitulers, or how's that gonna happen?
That doesn't come up on the common victuals. What happens is there's a form that, I'm gonna work, so what I wanna do is get everybody all of our towns on the same page and kind of do it at the same time.
Yep.
So there's a form that they'll send out, that I will work with them, and it will come back to you.
Okay.
Or,
For the variance. It's,
Is that for everyone serving sushi, or is it only if they're using a different?
so there's
Preservation.
specialized processes in the food code that require you to either have a HACCP plan, a variance, or a
Yeah.
HACCP plan and a variance. They have a HACCP plan, and it was an oversight. On my end, I didn't realize they needed a variance. But
Okay.
all of the paperwork and the guts of everything is actually on the HACCP plan. So they submit that to us. So
And
we
that's
get
required for what? Anybody that serves raw?
a specialized food process, so it's actually for the rice, because they use acidification.
Oh, okay. It's not the fish. Interesting. Okay. All right.
Oh, I thought it would be like the fish too here.
yeah,
Yeah.
There'd be
Yeah.
special directions for anything raw that's,
High
So there's
risk,
special,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
have to get the parasite destruction logs from where the fish comes from. That's part of the HACCP plan.
Okay.
But the actual variance itself is for the rice and the acidification.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Learn something new every day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let us know if you need anything. As always.
I was just gonna see if I could find the form that
I was just curious how that process is going to work, that's all.
Yeah, no, it's just a form that gets filled out, then we just, I'll have them, send all the forms down at the same time, and then just go over it with you, and then, there's just a whole process, for that. And I have the trainer that I was working with doing the food, fit training, she's the one that actually sent it to me.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
So other than that, there were a ton of food inspections that I did. I've been trying to cut back on paper,
Yeah.
printing stuff, so I've been trying to email them to Sam and then copying you guys on them.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
one of the ones that we received, that we did was Osawa. There was detailed, there were some issues with them that needed to be addressed. They weren't allowed to serve sushi for a few days until they rectified some of the things, equipment, modification, I think, of the HACCP plan, if I remember right. And then, once that was complete, I went back out, did another inspection.
Okay.
They'll be on a more frequent,
Yeah.
My understanding is they were very cooperative, though, in
yes,
terms
they
of
were very
working with you.
cooperative, yes.
That's good.
Well,
Yep.
there was stuff on social media talking about it, and I just think it's important that, you know, there was no order or action. They offered to comply.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
They were, and I tell people, it's not uncommon to have violations. You just have to be willing to correct them and understand why. And I think, do you have one of the inspection reports? I gave,
Not on me.
so,
In the office.
not for them, but for any, I think I gave you a couple that, they were,
Everything got shuffled.
so with the inspection reports,
No, you just gave me septics.
okay, so with the inspection reports, when there's a violation, the federal food code gets inserted into that inspection report. So the inspection report can go from 4 pages to 10 pages.
Oh,
And it's because
okay.
it's the section of the food code, and sometimes it's like, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, literally, that's what it is, but,
Yeah, I get
and
you.
that's good because it allows them to see what
Yeah.
we're citing and why we're citing it. But they were, you know, again, it was a pretty detailed inspection report, but they did respond quickly.
Okay, good. Good. And they get a copy of that whole report, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
That's good.
yep. So,
Okay.
so those are, I think that's really what I have.
Okay. No argument with that.
Oh my God.
Do you mind staying through Trish's?
Yeah, no,
thing, so that you can discuss the trash haulers just
Yep.
briefly? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Bridget.
thank you.
Thanks.
You're up, Trish.
All right, well, just really quick, our next meeting for the opioid abatement, I guess the team right now, will be on the 27th. And they're looking to form an opioid abatement, like a collaborative now, because we have Groton, Shirley, Ayer, a couple of other towns that, you know, are slowly joining in on this and looking at ways to spend the money, because as you know, the harm reduction van, that funding has gone to the side. So right now we're meeting as, you know, we're brainstorming as a board, and there's some legality to it. We're going to have to come up with a form. There's an attorney that was at the last meeting, Attorney Rich Mucci, and he's guiding this group of people along as what has to be in writing and then presented to the town managers. So that's going to be coming down the pike. So that's, it's moving, I think it's moving along pretty well. Once we get, we want to assign a host town.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, have a host community, so somebody that could, some town that could take on the day-to-day. And they're also looking at the first thing that they're looking at for spending some of this money is to get a regional substance use coordinator. And we're looking at that right now. Kelly, that you just met, Kelly
Yep.
and Jenna, we're getting a job description together and see what the salary would be. Would we need a full-time person, a part-time person? How that would work out. I did get good responses back from, I actually talked to Renee Payne today from Ayer Shirley. She's the healthcare coordinator over there.
Yeah.
And very interested in getting some training for staff and the upperclassmen. We talked about Narcan, having that on hand and having training. Chief Gill responded, as did Chief Johnston, as far as looking at the boxes for needle
Oh,
disposing
good,
of.
good.
So it's moving along slowly, and I didn't know if Gosnold has moved now into the space up in Devons. And
Yep.
for those of you that don't know what Gosnold is, there's a place, it's original, it's the addiction treatment center. And you could send, you know, your loved one there for, it's a hospital-based treatment center. Now, we have one at Devons, but it's a day, it's an outpatient. So I was thinking of, we could pool some money there and maybe offer to pay for people
Yeah.
that need, you know,
Yeah.
help. A lot of these people don't have insurance,
Right.
and a lot of these addiction centers, you know, that's all they work on.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
we have a lot of things going on, and I will let you know after we meet again on the 27th what we've decided as far as naming this board and what else is going to happen.
Who would the so if you go with a regional substance abuse coordinator, would that person end up working for, like, would this be a new legal entity that's formed to with the combined towns, or would
That's
they
the
work
thing,
for an
that's
existing?
yeah, that's what this Rich Mucci is going to walk us through how the language would be, and
Okay, okay.
kind of a new thing, how to use this money. So he said it would be an intermunicipal agreement that we'd have to go into on paper, and how much you want to put in for funds year to year, because that would fluctuate, um,
Gotcha.
you know, with the
Yeah,
amounts
yeah,
and the spending and what you're going to spend it on. So there's, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to it, but
yeah. But he's
I think,
got the background in, like, setting these kinds of things up from a legal perspective and the
yeah,
documentation. Yeah, good, good.
yeah. So we're just going to take a cue from him. And Jenna and Kelly, who was just there tonight, she's been a wealth of information. She did the Narcan training at the one that I attended in Littleton. So she would be
Yeah.
our go-to person until, I mean, if anybody would be interested in training, like Renee Payne up at
Okay.
the school. So yeah, so we're moving forward on that.
Good.
And
Did you want to, I don't mean to interrupt, but did you want to, so the Narcan training, I think they can go to different boards and show them that. Do you want to do that in Air?
Like,
well,
do
I
we?
was going to ask you, nothing against Littleton, Bridget, but I don't know. I saw the flyer and I ended up going to that. There was nobody there. It was poorly attended. It was myself, Kelly, Francis Daigle, who's the health coordinator in Littleton, and one other person.
Mm,
Yep.
So it was kind of, if you don't do the, you know, if you don't get the word out there the right way, it would be valuable for anybody that wants to do it. I mean, wants to attend. I just don't know how to go about.
Yeah.
I can ask, unless you are familiar with how to set stuff up to have trainings and.
I mean, I think they would just do a presentation to the board. They did it for us at our staff meeting.
Yeah.
Kelly did it for us. It was like a 5-10 minute, actually
Yeah,
maybe 10 minute thing. She brought the Narcan, and I personally just thought it was interesting. I don't,
Yeah.
even for you guys, and we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did too, Bridget. I was under the impression that it was like an EpiPen.
Yep.
I had no idea it was a
Nasal.
nasal, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it's not a drug.
Yep.
The drug.
And that you can't hurt somebody by giving it to them even if they're not having an overdose. There was a lot of things that I learned. So
Yeah, no, I thought it was.
Sure. I would, yeah. I mean, if it's quick, it sounds like it's informative.
Okay,
So
I just thought it was informative, and again, it's something that.
Yep.
If there's time at the next meeting or the one after, maybe.
Yeah, we can definitely fit that into a meeting. The other thing we could do, Trish, is I know that you said that the Littleton one was poorly attended, and it just made me think that if we wanted to set something up or try to do it in Ayer, maybe we could do the table of handouts at town meeting. We could just put a flyer out there to make sure people know that it's available. And maybe we could even combine it with, Trish, that you mentioned to me before, this, like the little movie on, how to, look through someone's, bedroom if you have a kid and you want to know if, things to look for to see if they're up to anything.
yeah, I
Maybe
spoke
we
to
could combine
Renee
with
about
that.
that. I thought that would be a good training for the school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Pam. And I could get Kelly said to let her know if anyone needed training, and she's right there.
Yeah,
So,
because we could think about doing that, like offering that, but not necessarily just at the school, but, like get a meeting room here if it's small, or even the Great Hall if we're going to have that many people. And
Yeah, we don't even
get
have
the
to
word
have
out.
it be at the Board of Health meeting. We can just have it in Ayer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, all right. Let's talk about what we could do with that. I'm up for that. I don't know how long we have to. Town meeting is usually like towards the end of April, right?
It's the
Third, yeah.
fourth Monday.
I'll send Jenna an email to see if we can try to coordinate something with Kelly.
Yeah, that sounds good.
yeah, Kelly was the trainer, so she's available to do that. She told us.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
great.
Good work. Thank you. I really appreciate you going through these. You're meeting like once a month, right? The group meets about once a month? Awesome.
27th is the next one.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trish.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Okay, well, we're actually have been here quite a while, so I'm going to give you a quick kind of update on the trash hauler. So, what I did after the meeting where we talked about this was I took our existing trash hauler rig, and I know I said I was going to redline it, but decided not to actually do the red line until after we could just have a little bit of sort of a high-level discussion about it here. There are some interesting differences in the proposed regulation that we got from the folks that came here to present, and Ayer's regulation, which it's a little old. 2015 it went into effect, and that was the original one. It hasn't been updated since then. So I'm not saying the existing reg doesn't need anything. I think there are definitely some things we can clean up. But there is a difference in sort of the target audience between the proposed new regulation and our existing regulation. And when we did this back in 2015, it went into effect January 1st, 2016. We specifically targeted it so that it's all putting the onus on the haulers. This is what you have to do as a hauler. And you really notice the difference in the two when you look at the purpose for these, the proposed draft versus ours. In the proposed draft, there are two purposes. It's a two-part statement. So I'm paraphrasing, but to protect public health and the environment. But then the second one is, it goes on to say, and to ensure that all haulers adhere to mass waste bans and other parts of this regulation. And it says that there is going to be joint enforcement of the waste bans by the town and the haulers. So that's one thing that was a little bit different, that we're now kind of putting this emphasis on that the town is going to have some part in ensuring that the haulers adhere to the waste bans, which is a Massachusetts law. It's not a town regulation, it's a mass law. So it already applies to them. They already have to do that. The other thing that's kind of interesting is, even though the draft, it sounds like it's primarily intended to still regulate the haulers, there are some statements in here that go beyond our reg in terms of like putting the onus or the responsibility on the customer. And one of the things in particular is under the recycling requirements in both. In the proposed new one, it talks about mandatory separation of solid waste and recyclables, and that pretty much is applying to the haulers. They have to keep it; they can't commingle it. But then it goes on to say that that applies to customers and generators, not just haulers. And it also includes a requirement for the town to inform all generators, so all customers, at least once a year of this mandatory separation and the mandatory recycling stuff. Our reg is pretty low key on that, our existing reg. It just says that haulers must provide a recycling option. And we have nothing in here about requirements placed on the customers or the waste generators. So that's kind of strikes me as a little bit of a difference in focus. Up until now, we really have nothing that tells residents you must recycle. And as I recall our discussion surrounding it back in 2015, the idea there was kind of twofold. That number one, it's already a state regulation, it's already a state law. So we don't have a regulation saying that a restaurant can't spit in the soup. That's covered under the mass regulations. We don't need to have a reg. So that's one school of thought. The other thing that, and I'm not really advocating for making changes or not making the changes, but just kind of want us to understand what we might be wandering into if we do go with the proposed changes. It, to some extent, brings a little bit of a different focus. We're telling customers, you must recycle. So do we want that to run through a Board of Health regulation and then have Board of Health be involved in the administration of that? So if we have a regulation that says that residents must recycle, are we going to go out and ticket people for not recycling? Or does that responsibility already exist because it's a requirement in Massachusetts, it's a state requirement, and it should be enforced at the hauler level, not so much at the individual. So I'm not saying that I think recycling is bad, but I definitely have concerns about how would we actually enforce that if we put requirements on residents or customers versus the haulers. The haulers, we have the permit that we can pull, or we can not renew, or we can put conditions on. Individual customers, I don't know honestly what we could or would want to do.
And we're revisiting this again, and as far as I remember, that we talked about Harvard and
Mhm.
different towns and how there is nobody, unless like the person we talked about in Harvard getting in their car, driving around and checking things out.
Right,
There's
right, right.
there's no oversight. And did we ever find out from other towns how they, I mean, I know that, I don't know how we ended up talking about Harvard that time, but how Shirley does it. I mean, all the surrounding towns use the same vendors. I'm
Yeah, and I
so,
think that Irene kind of mentioned a little bit about that when she was here, and they cite that as like in the upfront of this is a purpose of this regulation. And one of the things that or a couple of the things that they cite, or maybe it's the same thing said a few different ways, is to make sure that there's fair and equitable rules for all the private haulers, but also to have greater consistency across municipalities to promote clear operating guidelines for private haulers. So I think that they are requesting that towns make changes like this. As far as I understand the urgency to make this change now, and it would have to be enacted by June, there's a couple of additional points that bring money to the town. And I want to say that I think she said it was, but this sounds very low, so I'm not positive. Just like in the $300 something.
Yeah, I don't think it was meaningful enough to try to have some enforcement action.
right.
I thought it was like $500. And then if
Yeah.
you take the money and you get audited and you're not doing it, then you probably get penalized for doing that as well. So
And then
So that could come back on it.
I think it could come back to bite you for what's the point for $500 a year? You know,
and
Yeah.
for enforcement, because we've run into this before with other regulations, we do have enforcement sort of written in, but no real good mechanism for it. Because, like, I don't have the authority to
Right.
really do anything. And,
Yeah.
like, sort of with the chicken permits, how many times have we run around and called
Yeah.
and called and called?
but
Like,
we have an animal inspector. I mean,
we have an
you know,
inspector,
we're
and
not gonna
Julie
appoint
can
a
do it.
trash inspector, I don't.
Right. That's a really important point.
And if you tell someone they have to do something, the reaction is, I'm not going to do it. You know,
Well, and the state already tells them they have to do
so let the state enforce it then. You know,
That is kind of how I look at it. I could call, the one thing I didn't do is to call DPW and get their take on, first of all, exactly how much, I think she said 2 points. So how much money is
Yeah,
2
what is
points?
this?
I don't think the trash haulers use the air transfer station. I think that most of the haulers go to Devon's
Yes.
or to commercial facilities.
Right, but the points money, I think, comes in to the town, like, it's a DPW points.
Again, changing the regulations to get $500 doesn't seem to make sense to me.
What exact part gets them that? Because is it just a very specific part, like sort of the multifamilies have to have recycling? If it's that like sort of specific thing, that's very different than if we have to change the whole thing.
Yeah, so I did do that. I did do like the comparison of what, other than the telling people that they need to recycle, and the like reinforcing the waste bans and us having to notify them and sharing the enforcement responsibility. It looks to me like most of the other stuff that's in here, if not all of it, is covered. We talk about there being a waistband, we cite the section, we have a lot of stuff in there about the haulers, the kind of insurance that they have to have, and the limits, and providing us evidence of that. So, yeah, I think my understanding, and I can clarify this, is that it's what's at issue really is that it's these couple of additional points that we can get if we update our reg to include all the things that are in here. And I really think that that's kind of the big missing thing. There's some really minor differences, like this one has for hours of collection 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Ours says 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But not a big deal.
Pam, we don't
But it's
even,
all little stuff.
we don't even know what percentage of the town uses common collection and what
We
percent,
don't.
we have no
That's
idea,
right.
you know? I have never had a trash hauler. I go to the transfer station.
I
know.
went to the transfer station 1 or 2 times when I first moved back, and then I called Waste Management.
So I've never used it, but I know
Yeah,
the transfer
yeah.
station, I think, does a very good job in terms of separating stuff, you know.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
metals and paper and,
And
you know,
after the last meeting, you had asked, because there were questions about offering recycling to customers who already does it.
Yeah.
I did email all the trash haulers. They didn't quite all get back to me, but the big guys do. Waste Management,
They get-
GW Shaw, Republic, they all offer recycling to
different colored
everybody.
containers, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did ask, do you offer recycling to multifamilies? Because they're the ones who have dumpsters.
Yeah.
Most of them do. A couple of them did say no, but they're the very, like Metrano said no, but they only do roll-off service anyway. So they're not
Okay,
going
yeah,
to do
yeah,
that.
okay.
Prime Disposal, who's sort of the new guy, and he's been expanding rapidly.
Yeah.
He does offer recycling. He has no multifamilies he has no
Okay.
contract with a multifamily. He has no dumpsters. He can't provide them. So
Yeah.
he doesn't offer it.
Okay.
So what are you recommending?
I'm not really recommending as much as I I have sort of a sense of the fact that this is going to take our regulation into a different place. It's going to take us into regulating residents and what they do. And that is already covered by the state. The enforcement piece of it concerns me. So,
Then why not leave it alone and let the state statute prevail instead of putting into the town?
yeah, I kind of wanted to see if you guys have the same
Well,
concern.
is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, I kind of think so. I mean, I think that it's going to be I hate to make regs or requirements that we can't enforce.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have in this reg, I think because we were looking at it when we first created it, like, oh my God, we're going to have these trucks going around and we're going to have to look and see if they have their permit on them. So this is a little unusual for our regs, but it does say in here, under our existing reg, that enforcement is the Board of Health, our agent, or the Air Police Department. And I think that we specifically put that in. I remember it was Murray, Chief Murray was his name, right? He was the chief at the time, and I remember discussing that whole thing with him, is that because this might involve like stopping a truck and looking to see something, is that something, you know, I don't want Bridget driving down the street waving out her window at a garbage truck. Yeah, it's like, would police help us with something like that? So that's why they're in there.
I would imagine that if they had probable cause to stop the truck, then they could ask for this information, but just going out to stop the truck for the information wouldn't give you probable cause at all.
Not so much the information, but it's the stuff too in here about they have to keep control of the truck. They can't have trash blowing out of the truck because they drive through town. So we're also thinking of that kind of stuff. If like that did happen, it would be more appropriate for a cop to deal with that. So I guess I'm kind of thinking that there are a few things from here that I think are said a little better, that, you know, maybe we could freshen it up. I'm not sure if we could get rid of, they have kind of a scaled down, I think, reporting requirement in theirs compared to what we say. Because we're very specific about some semi-annual reports, and it has to be by August 1st and February 1st. And I don't know if that maybe even has changed since 2015.
So those are the reports I was telling you about before that fell off, because I think as the person changes, the administrator doesn't necessarily know you're supposed to do, like.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
some of the trash haulers I sent it to, like Waste Management, who's been a trash hauler here forever, was like, yeah, I know what this form is, and they filled it out without blinking.
Yeah.
Where some of the newer guys are like, what?
Yeah, it's not a form that's unique to us. It's just kind of a standard form.
So
I think they still do have to report because it's in this model regulation. but it's more of a, let's see, no, that's the mandatory recycling. There is something in here about them having to provide the reports,
And they
but
have to
I think
do
it's
it-
scaled down, the description.
And they're supposed to do it like when they submit for their permits.
But our reg says they don't have to submit that to you, they submit
No,
it
they're supposed
to,
to do it to the DPW.
Yeah.
I had them submit it to me because I asked Dan at DPW, I'm like, hey, do you get these? Because I'm supposed to apparently check when they submit their
Yeah.
permits to see if they submitted them, and Dan has never seen one, so.
Yeah, so people are not.
So I
really-
had them send them to me at least, then I knew and then I forwarded them
Yeah,
on to
okay,
Dan.
alright, I gotcha. Yeah, so they're like kind of minor things that maybe we could, actually, the fines in ours are a little bit higher. Not by a huge amount, but first offense in the model is a warning. We say it's either a $50 fine or a warning. Second offense is the same, $100. Their third offense was $200, ours is $300, and we say after the third offense, $300, and we can revoke. They have subsequent offenses, $300. So how many subsequents can you have? I don't like that idea.
Just leave ours alone.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that unless anyone feels really differently about picking that up.
If you don't mind, do you mind scanning and sending me?
Sure.
And that way I'll look at them and I'll see what maybe some of our other towns are doing.
Yeah,
And how
yeah.
they're handling it, and then we can.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want like my notes on it, or?
Do you mind?
Yeah, sure, I can do that, yeah.
See what your frame of thought is, and then I can.
Yeah, I'll do that, okay. And you have our existing
Yep,
one and
I have
the
yours.
model, right?
Yep.
Okay. But then I wanted to ask you on the application, she also sent this example application, so I figured if you could take a look at this and see if there's anything that maybe, the application is not part of the reg, so if there's anything useful in here that you want to pick up, we could change
I'll
the
gladly
application
take
without
things.
having to change the reg.
Yeah, I'll do
the
that.
reg. Okay, I'll send a summary to you. It sounds like you guys are not like feeling a burning need to.
To me, it sounds like more bureaucracy than anything. And
I think it could get us into something that we can't.
Yeah, we're gonna get stuck. It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what the other towns do,
Yeah.
how their wording is any different and how they're getting around it, and just let it lie with the state.
Yeah.
And I can send you a few things, especially for like the permitting part of it. Just because I read through the regs before I send them out and try and do it, and some of it's not like functional.
Yes.
Or it's just
and
not
it's
functional.
incredibly wordy, and it seems to
So-
say the same thing a
So
few times.
I can send you at least sort of my thoughts on the permitting process of like, this is clunky, and it might be just because of what was available at the time.
We had no idea. We had never done this before, so we really
Yes,
didn't have any
I
idea.
found
how
those
this
files.
works. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll send you some more information. We'll exchange information. Let's just put it on the agenda again for the next meeting to have like kind of a sort of closeout update. But I'm not going to start doing anything with actually changing our reg at this.
that's a great idea.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Sounds like we're in agreement on that.
Yeah.
All right. Call. If anybody have anything else on trash?
No.
Okay.
But I do have one thing that's not on, well, I'm not sure it's on here or not, but I would like to see the Ayer Board of Health send a letter supporting whatever House bills are out there that Neshoba is trying to get passed.
I meant to ask Jim that.
So I think we should send them to whoever we need to send them to, but I would make a motion that we support in writing
That sounds good.
the bills that are proposed.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Neshoba.
Yeah, let's actually.
Oh, yeah,
Anybody want a second?
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So from a discussion perspective, Scarsdale would be one of them, Eldridge would be one.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then if there's a general response, I would think the governor. Why not send one to the governor that we
Okay.
supported?
Yeah.
But whoever you think that And they should be signed by the Board of Health.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
come up with some.
Yeah, we can get something together for the next meeting and sign
I'll
it
come
and
up with
send
some
it.
draft things.
Okay.
But I think that's,
Yeah, that is a good one. I meant to ask Jim that, if there's, you know, like anything that they recommend that we do, that's a good idea.
That would be great if all of them, Steve, if all the towns.
Yeah,
it would.
well,
Supported.
Jim did make reference to supporting the bills, but I think we should individually do that.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely, yeah. Okay.
okay. All right, so that is that. Call log. A heck of a lot of new stuff since when was the last meeting? The 9th or 10th? So I think the only really new one is this mold.
I called him, scheduled the inspection, he canceled and never called back.
Okay. All right. What happened? I'm surprised I didn't ask this last time. The roof at Junction RPD? Did they have to like do any construction work to fix that? Or?
It was the frozen pipe, it caused the suspended ceiling to, so it wasn't really,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Did
And
that
it's been
affect like the
fixed.
food prep area?
They were closed for a while and they had it fixed and then I went back out and did a reinspection.
Okay.
They're under new ownership too, I believe.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
I never know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I didn't know exactly the message from dispatch really just said the roof came in and I went.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That sounds good. Minutes from January 15th. Let me go back and look at my minutes. I don't think, but I want to open them again. That was the tobacco
Yeah.
The first hearing.
yeah. That looked like it
the
was,
notes from that.
yeah, that was pretty well.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay. Anybody gonna?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we got that done. So,
And those. All right. Give me a second to find everything.
yeah, we're closing in on this. We're almost
My
done.
folder ended up falling apart here.
Do we have permits to
I
sign?
have
Haulers or tobaccos?
some tobaccos.
Always cracks me up that we sign. Why's the Board of Health telling me?
So we have 2 tobacco permits. They're the last ones, the Air Package Store and Air Convenience. Air Convenience on Park Street has a new owner, so that's why they held off.
Okay.
Air Package was a little behind for their tax ID something.
Oh,
or other.
yeah, right. I remember the tax ID thing.
The last one who needs a permit is the Jack-o'-lantern, but they can't get it till they pay the fine.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha. And we needed to,
We issue the permits as presented.
okay. Second? Was that a second, Trish?
Yes, I second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. And we're going with today's date, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
And then
aye, still seems weird to be signing.
I know. All right.
Okay.
And then
That.
we do not have a trash hauler. We should have a trash hauler.
Okay.
This is our friend M. Sullivan and Son. These are all the messages I have sent them that have gotten returned to me.
Are they still doing business in
Wow.
the town of Ayer?
Yep, I know one place that has a dumpster for them.
Should we issue a cease and desist
Yes.
order?
Yeah, I think so.
And I have called them several times. I've left them voicemails. They claim they don't have an email, so. and I have mailed it.
Do you want a motion to
Are
issue?
you, well, hang on one second. Are you getting these, are they picking them up? They're just coming back to you?
They're just coming back to me. So I've sent a total of, let's see, I've sent 3 certified and 2 regular. I've sent to their regular address at 40 King Street in Fitchburg. They also have a P.O. box. I've sent to their P.O. box, at least 2 each. They were originally mailed in early November. Contacted again in December, called in December, sent these the last time, called them.
Why don't you put them on the agenda for the next meeting to appear and let them know that the board will be issuing a cease and desist order?
That sounds perfectly reasonable. I think we're definitely
Yes.
at this point.
Definitely. That's enough. That's
Yeah,
enough of that.
that's crazy.
I would notify the Ayer Police Department on that one too, if they see these people after the cease and desist still operating in the town of Ayer.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Can you put
Definitely.
together a draft letter?
Yeah, I can do a draft letter. I gave them, I don't even remember what now, but I
No,
knew
you-
when this meeting was, and I gave them till
That's fine.
December, like January 31st. Like, get me.
Just make sure you give them the, we sent this,
Yeah.
you didn't pick it up,
I've
blah,
got
blah, blah, blah.
They have no email, Sam?
They say they don't have an email address. I have gotten in contact with them in the past, like a couple years ago. They're
Okay.
very difficult
Yeah,
to get a hold of. And like last year, when we got their thing, because we ask for a list of all your customers.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that took. They're like, well, we don't keep a list. Well, that doesn't make
What?
sense. Actually, that dumpster we get complaints about, like the one the guy takes pictures of.
Oh,
They have a dumpster.
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The one on.
On
Cambridge and,
Okay. Yeah. Let's vote on that so that we've at least got the, backup so that I can just go in and sign it.
I make a motion that we request their appearance at the next meeting, and in absence of that, the board will be issuing a cease and desist order.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm not going to be here the first week in March, so if you're going to be meeting, that's fine by me. I have no problem with that, but I'm going to Colorado on March the 9th, so,
Yeah, that might overlap.
I think it does.
with that. I think it
yeah,
does,
so
yeah.
just
Okay.
to let you know, I won't be here
the
for
next
that.
meeting is March
Okay.
10th.
Okay, all right, got you. I should be taking note of that.
March what?
10th.
Yeah, we fly on Sunday, the 9th.
You can always call in.
I was
No,
just gonna say,
from-
can you Zoom?
No, from Steve,
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah, right, I wouldn't want to either.
I'm changed too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so
Okay.
I will get something together by the end of the week for that.
All right, and just let me know if I need to come in and sign it, or Bridget, or who, I don't care who signs
We
it.
did receive 2 pieces of mail that
What
are
did we
super
get?
exciting. One is our frequent Mass DEP thing about the landfill.
Oh,
Tested all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
Super exciting.
yeah.
And apparently there was a notice of permanent solution statement in no conditions at Pepsi. They apparently had a small spill, and so we received
Of what? Something that wasn't supposed to spill,
a
apparently.
release of diesel fuel that was identified as a result of a leaking saddle tank on a vehicle.
Oh, okay.
They assigned it a release number. It's cleaned.
Okay,
There's no problems.
okay.
But just so you know,
Taken care of.
some diesel
It
fuel
wasn't
spilled.
soda.
Yeah, exactly.
Some diesel fuel spilled somewhere. So
No bills?
no bills.
Awesome. Okay, so next meeting then, March 10th, and we just talked about a couple of things to have on there. We're gonna see if we can get our recalcitrant trash hauler to talk to us. We will do then, you will have had another harm reduction meeting, Trish, so we can do an update on that. We can put the trash hauler on again for a quick little discussion. And then we can play it by ear to see if anything, important for you comes up. Okay?
All right. I make a motion.
Second. You're late.
I haven't been good all night.
Oh, God.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. That was a long